allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we sit, I'd like to take a moment to have a moment of silence for one of our past town supervisors, Harold Jubert, who passed away on Sunday. I think on behalf of the board, I can honestly say that he was a highly respected town supervisor, provided solid leadership through some difficult times. I think one of the most difficult times that we had was the fire of 1991, was it? I believe. And Harold was a supervisor at that time of the highway town garage that we had rebuilt. So I'd like to take a moment to just remember him. And I'd like to say that our prayers are with Barbara and her family. Thank you. Call the meeting to order. Make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes. The September 14th meeting is presented by the clerk.
I'll second it. And there's also, do you want to include the 10-5 special town board meeting?
Yeah,
Yes.
we should, yeah.
Councilor Trombley made a motion that the minutes for the 9/14/09 regular town board meeting and the 10/5/09 special town board meeting be approved as submitted by the town clerk, seconded by Councilor Lattimore. Roll call, Councilor Lattimore,
Yes.
Councilor Dino,
Yes.
Councilor Devens.
I don't make motion myself.
Oh,
Sorry.
it was for the minutes,
Minutes.
approving the minutes.
Yes.
Last minute. And
Yes.
Councilor Trombley, supervisor.
Yes. Okay, at this time we'll open up the floor to public comment session. If anybody has a comment for the board, would you please stand, state your name, and address the whole board as a whole, if you would. Anybody have anything? Mr. Sears, go ahead.
I don't know if it's the time or, because I just want to let the board know that I did attend that public information meeting here on October 8th, 2009, from 6 to 8 on the Slauson Road Bridge. And I stayed here for 2 hours, and there was one person that came in to look at, and I can't remember his name. Todd, you know,
Charlie Newmark.
Charlie Newbar was the only person that came in for 2 hours. There was, Al Raska was here, the engineers were here, the state engineers were here. And it was just informational on the replacement of the bridge. And I give Staub copies of the information pamphlet for the board if there isn't usually very many people that attend these, if any, but it's just a forum that you have to go through. Okay, second order of business, Jerry, you asked me the last meeting about the rooftop highway. We passed that resolution supporting that, resolution 750.
Okay.
And the last report I've got is estimated sales tax for September, projected revenue $7,937,401. The actual revenue was $8,171,346. So we're still ahead on our sales tax projection of $233,945. That's the last I have to report.
Thank you very much. Anybody else like to address the board? At this time, we'll close the public comment session then. We'll start off tonight with Tom Dajna, who's going to address the board on some zoning changes.
I think everybody received a copy of the proposed amendments to the zoning law. And those in the planning board's proposed amendments. Are there any questions?
I gotta apologize because I got these and I didn't get a chance to put them in the mail to them, so they just received them tonight.
Oh, okay.
What I'd like to do is maybe have them read through these and at the next meeting, we can see if they have any,
I can, it might be quicker if we went right through them.
sure, if you wanna.
Okay, you want to start with Article 3? What we're proposing to change, the first thing is the single-wide mobile home is currently an acceptable use in Hamlet commercial, industrial commercial, rural use, agricultural, and land, lake shore commercial. And what we're proposing is that they're not allowed in Hamlet commercial, that they become conditional uses in commercial zones, that they're not allowed in industrial commercial or lakeshore commercial. Okay, and then we went through, ag forest was an area that had allowed very little. In fact, the riding stable section that's later on in here was not allowed in ag forest districts. So when that came to our attention, we started looking at the ag forest district and found that there were several areas, or several uses that we couldn't find any reason why they would not be allowed. So what we've included now is several areas such as churches, membership clubs, and you can see everything that's in red are areas, are uses that we are recommending be included in ag forest districts. Also, we got two new uses that we have proposed is boat sales and boat repairs came before us and became an issue. And those were never specifically addressed in the zoning law, so we included those as conditional uses in commercial, industrial commercial, and rural use, and ag forest areas. Also, we've got several definitions that every conditional use we felt should have a definition so that we could explain what it was. And we went through and found several deficiencies where there were a large number of conditional uses that were not defined what they were. So we've made an attempt to define every conditional use that is listed. And we have added a new section for keeping of horses. New section 565. And that is preceded by 5 or 6 definitions that will be included also in the definition section.
So when are you looking at some kind of decision on these?
Well, you're going to have to do a public hearing on it, and then do a public law. I just noticed that I did not include under the section 310 for new uses, the riding stable, riding academy, and riding stables, which I'll have to include this in here. What that was, those would be two new conditional uses under the commercial use, and they will be conditional uses in all the areas, in all zones, for the riding stable and riding academy. And I just noticed we didn't include that here. Riding included.
I think it'd still behoove us to kind of give a chance to read this for the next meeting and decipher it and look it over a little bit better, and so we can have some comment on the board and before we do the public hearing.
Before you do the public hearing?
Yeah. Give everybody time to absorb it and see if there's any questions we might have.
So this, keeping of horses on the back is basically saying that unless you have 3 acres of land, that you can't have a horse within the town? Is that,
Yes, unless you're classified as a farm. Right now, the law, as it would be interpreted, is if you are in certain districts, like if you're in Hamlet commercial or Hamlet residential areas, you need 5 acres of land to be considered a farm. If you were in ag forest and you have a 1 acre parcel or a 3,100 square foot parcel, the minimum requirements, you can keep a horse on that. So there's just, a lot of it didn't make sense. So what we decided is that 3 acres for the first horse, and then every horse after that, you'd need an acre to support it.
It doesn't specify as far as fencing, electric fence is acceptable?
Yeah. It's a barrier, that's, what we decided with fencing is, well, fencing, electric fencing, it's any permanent or temporary enclosure designed to contain animals. So an electric fence that would be temporary would be considered a fence as far as our definition. That makes sense, or that's?
Any questions?
I have one question for Tom, not regarding the zoning, but it's in reference to, that I had on my agenda, that I knew you were coming, so, where do we stand? Remember we purchased the software and the gentleman from Plattsburgh State was gonna be doing the inputting for GPS coordinates? Where do we stand with that?
He's done some work, has maps made. He's gone to work for the town of Plattsburgh. So, he was still working on weekends and still plans on finishing up. He hasn't submitted any bill to the town, has he?
No.
No. No, he's done substantial work,
Has he?
and made the databases and with the maps. And I think Pat is using some of the software, but, I'm not sure if he incorporated the water and sewage into it yet. But what we had to do is get that, all that finished. He's gonna have to come in on weekends and do it. So that, along with comprehensive plan, we haven't finished that yet. So,
That was my next question.
yeah, we still have to, none of the demographic information was changed on the new comprehensive plan when they submitted it. So that, all that demographic information is over 20 years old, so that needs to be all updated. And we just haven't had time, or we haven't been able to find anybody that was willing to get into it.
But the software that we purchased is being utilized, so it's not,
Well, it's sitting here, it's available, it's really not being utilized because we don't have the manpower to utilize it right now.
can we go back to Plattsburgh State and see if there's anybody else that could come in and do an intern?
Well, what I was hoping to do was, once we get the maps done, that we could get a student intern here and then start putting all of the back variances, all the applications that have ever come through, and tag those to the properties. That's something I think we can do with interns, but.
Actually, the gentleman that's working on that program, or was working on it, emailed me this week,
Mhm.
and he wants to do a special board meeting just for like a 20-minute session where he can come in and show the board what he's done so far
Yeah.
and the additional work he's planning to do.
So,
I told him we could do that. He didn't want to do it in a board meeting night, he just wanted to do it in a special work session, so.
Just so that we can start utilizing what we purchased. Okay, thanks, Alan.
with the data that you've got on those, the only thing that you don't have is that riding stable information. So, I'll have to get that to you, or but it's just the riding stables and everything is gonna be conditional use. We're recommending a conditional use in all zones.
Now, you changed the definition of mobile home, manufactured home, is that what this is?
Yeah, what we did with that is we did have a definition for mobile home, but it was felt that it should correspond with the definition of mobile home in the building code. So that's what that reflects, that is the building code definition for a mobile home. So we're deleting our current definition and replacing it with that one. That's what our suggestion is.
Anybody else? Questions?
What do you refer to as a small-scale hydroelectric facility?
Where are you seeing that on the?
On the bottom of the second page.
That is something that already exists in the zoning law, so that would be a small scale. It wouldn't be something like the gas and electric, it'd be something like one of the dams here.
Oh, okay.
That they would put, it would be a small scale. It wouldn't be a utility.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was something that was
That's not.
existing or
That's existing, that's not.
possibility.
Yeah, that's not new, and right now it's conditional uses in the zones as it's stated here.
Okay.
Any else have questions for Tom? Thank you, Tom.
So as far as scheduling, you're probably not looking at a public hearing until December?
I'm thinking that, so we can look at this a little closer and just make sure there's no additional questions or changes that we might want to consider.
Okay. In the comprehensive plan, we'll try to get that to you sometime by the end of the year, but we said that previous years.
All right, I'm gonna go first tonight because I got quite a few things, and then we'll go down the line this way. We'll do things a little different. I did meet with Al Rasco again about the road that the county wants to turn over, which is Ingraham Road, and he is, according to what they wanted to give to us, they kind of cut a portion off, but they are gonna consider giving us the points that they actually had transferred in 1953, what it dated on the maps in 1953, so we told them that if we wanted it, we'd like to take the whole thing. And it's only a quarter mile of road, but that he will consider it and bring it to the legislators, I guess, and discuss it with them. So I just want to give you an update on that.
Now, are they gonna repair the road before they?
We haven't even gotten that far yet. I mean, it's kind of a strange situation. It was turned over to the town in 1953. That for some reason they still pay us to plow it, which it's technically considered our road, I guess. So it's kind of a little strange situation.
But has it's been paved since 1953, hasn't it?
It's never been paved that I know of.
Since 53?
The old state road, I think it was 57, actually, the date on that map, I'm not sure. Not that it makes
Of the
any
transfer?
difference. Yeah,
I think,
That was 53.
yeah, I think the transfer is 53.
was it?
I got a file on it.
But it doesn't, it's,
Yeah.
Yeah, Dobbin was my uncle.
yeah,
But I would, I think they did say before that they would pave it for us, right, Dick? If they were, no?
Well,
The whole-
that's what they thought it was theirs.
exactly. That's when they thought they were turning it over to us, 212. of the
So now
highway
that
law.
it's
But
really
that's not
ours.
the case now. The case is, they're saying that they never owned it.
Right.
Yeah,
It's always been ours.
now they're saying it's ours.
Right.
So what is the likelihood of them gonna,
But Al's telling you a different story from what he otherwise said, so I don't know, I haven't been involved with it.
Well, if they were paying us for plowing it, they were paying us for maintaining it for them.
I think it was
So
on, I think it was on
consequently,
the
they're saying
county,
it's theirs.
I think it was on the county, highway mileage.
Right.
You're right, Bucket, so
Yeah.
that's why we were being paid for it.
Right.
Whether or not it was there erroneously, I'm not saying, I'm just saying it was, I think it was listed under the county.
Yeah, but basically they're paying us to maintain it for them.
For snow
When you're
removal.
plowing,
For snow removal.
right?
Correct.
And my understanding is they're gonna pay us again this year for it. That's what he told me. Which is, I just, you know, it's kind of baffling, but I don't understand.
No, but usually when you maintain something, you own it, don't you?
They have for years.
No?
So anyway, he's gonna let me know.
I mean, it'd be nice if they paved it so we didn't have to worry about doing those repairs in a while. Especially when you're looking at how much
It's a
a
great mile.
mile.
Yeah, but
Well, for that road, you're not gonna get under the.
used to go out to town.
Because it did need a repair.
$60,000.
Your uncle,
And that's
Do
today's
that
price,
road.
we don't know what next year.
maintained it.
Because
Just
it
to
is
do that
dire
road?
need.
Your uncle,
I'd do
Mike.
$60,000 just to do that small
Yeah.
section.
You're talking near $80,000 a mile to do a road, a mile of road, paving, between shimming and paving. Depending how bad the road is, what has to be done to it. Asphalt's $53 a ton.
That road's had to have been paved since 53.
I have
or
no
even
idea about
57.
You would know better than I mean, you was your neighbor, I guess, for years. I don't recall it ever being paved, but I guess I really didn't pay attention back then, I didn't.
Well, the roads don't last. Well,
Well, it's a low volume road, it's a low volume road, very few cars go over it, that would be the
Yep, you
road
got a lot of-
foundation, right?
trucks too.
Right, farm equipment now.
So farmer equipment, tractor trailer.
I don't think there's too many tractor trailers. but-
Well, Olin goes down through there quite a bit.
Not on that part of it.
No. He may, I don't know.
Okay, we are working with Adele Douglas on application for salt storage. Building that, we are looking at building at the highway department. And we are presenting some documents, this week, actually we're putting them in the mail tomorrow, to see about the possibility of getting a grant. We are gonna need a resolution tonight to get an engineer to represent the town for this project. So we'll do that after. Let me go down here. Okay, the rec parks are gonna be officially closed for the season. I believe Tom closed Scioto and West Chazy this week, and he's gonna be closing Chazy next week. Our new bathroom facility outside is completely done now, and the only thing that needs to be done is the wiring needs to be transferred into the new building, but the inspection's all done, and we just gotta, they're pretty much unhooked underneath the old building, and we just gotta lift that building up and put it down on the end until we decide what we're gonna do with it, and then transfer the wiring over, so that building is pretty much done. Again, it's just a matter of transferring the wires underneath the building and getting them up into the fuse box.
No, I thought somebody wanted that building.
They did, but they
Legion.
decided no. The American Legion asked for it, but they had a meeting and decided they don't want it. So, it's up for what we want to do with it.
Would it be good to put it down towards the back for storage and the lines above it?
Um,
Something
yeah.
else?
That's where we're gonna put it for now until we decide what we want to do with it. I mean, we haven't even approached anybody else about seeing if they want it or not. Does need a lot of work. Floors would have to be replaced.
Well, it's been there for a while.
So it's not really feasible to put
Oh.
them in for storage.
We could put something in the paper to see if anybody's interested in it. It's not really worth a lot of money, that's for sure. Do we want to keep it for storage? I mean, I don't know if we really want to invest that kind of money in it.
Okay.
Because that overhang is gonna be hard to deal with, right?
Overhang on old. Oh,
on the old building.
well, you can close it in and use it for storage there too, if you really wanted to, but. So anyway, that's gonna be placed down where the Lions Club bathroom, or their storage facility is right now, just till probably spring, so we can decide, or unless somebody knows of somebody that wants it, have them call the office here, or, I don't know if it's something we wanna put out for bid, I mean, is it worth, what's it worth?
And I think it's worth a hell of a lot, that's why you built the new building.
It's worth giving it to somebody if they want to come take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
Just to have it moved and. Okay, Gary EML's property has been taken care of, his meter has been taken off, and that's been done. Somebody had questioned that a couple meetings ago. As everybody knows, we've been working on the budget, and we'll ask some questions about that a little later on. We have a budget meeting. I'd like to thank the highway department for helping out with replacing some of the sidewalks through Chazy and West Chazy. Dick had 2 or 3 guys that were helping Tom out with doing that work, so hats off to the highway department for helping out with that, we appreciate it. We do have a request from a gentleman who lives on Oliver Street. Apparently there's a children at play sign there, but he would like to know if the town board would be willing to put up a 35-mile-per-hour speed limit on that road. It's a town road, it's not a county road or a state road. Because apparently there's a lot of cars that spin their tires down that road, and motorcycles that speed down that road, and,
I don't know how they get up to 35 miles an hour on it.
well, I guess they definitely like to speed or spin their tires a lot on that road, and for some reasons, it's a side road, and he just is asking for,
So
I don't know if that, we can do that, or,
No, I think you need permission from DOT still, even though
even
it's a
though it's
town
not a
road.
town road?
Street.
Okay, so we should write a letter to DOT and request it?
Very
Okay.
seldom granted, but it is something that DOT has jurisdiction over.
Okay, so we'll write a letter to them, telling them we have a request. We did have an audit, and the audit was done by, what was it?
I was at IRS, and basically reviewed employees, W-2s, 1099s, making sure that paperwork was all in order. And therefore, he was very satisfied, and there won't be any follow-up.
This is unannounced.
He called about 10 days ago.
Update on the Marner Farm Road burned out property. Talked with Bob West again today. Apparently, there's a potential buyer for that property, but Bob has, and this potential buyer came in today with Andy Abdullah's son, because he's an engineer, because Bob wanted to know, obviously, if the property was able to be reconstructed, and he wanted an engineer to look at it. And Bob, bottom line said, you come in within 1 week with a complete set of plans, dates, everything on paper of what you want to do and when it's going to be done. And the engineer, if they tell us it's feasible, if you want to buy it and you get everything done in time, according to what you tell us, we'll let you redo it. Otherwise, after the week, returning it to the town to get demolished. Enough is enough. So,
Let me give you this memo. I hadn't heard, I know that it's been talked about, but it's just a memo about the procedure. Actually, there's one for each of you. But it's just the outline of the procedure that the town would need to follow if you're gonna do that. All right? It would require essentially adopting a resolution that's an unsafe structure, and then setting a public hearing, an opportunity for the landowner to come in to be heard about why he feels it's not unsafe. And then the town would need to go out to bid if it's gonna be more than 20,000, in terms of estimated cost for the demolition. But each of you have a memo on that, we can review it and get questions, but it is a process. And ultimately, if the town does go forward with removal or demolition, the cost when it doesn't get paid by the landowner, it can be added to the tax rolls. But at this point, you'd be looking at the soonest that could happen would be the January of 2011 bill, meaning the county would reimburse you if it didn't get paid in April or May of 2011. So, just so that, you know, all of you know what the procedure would be in that.
Last thing I just want to talk about is, and I think it's just good to bring this up because we just don't know what the future's going to bring on this topic, but obviously, if the swine flu hits and some of our public officials are out, I mean, like if I get sick, Jerry, I guess you're going to be the man in charge for the board meetings and maybe coming in and helping Sue. We do have a little bit of help in place in case Sue gets sick. We have trained, and I don't know how we can do this, but Carolyn Misek, before she became judge, did some training with Sue, at least to do payrolls. So we have some precautions in place for that. I mean, we still gotta pay people and make sure that this place operates and goes on, so, we might be calling on some other people to come in to help out where possible if people do become sick and ill. And we do have, obviously, you have a helper that comes in, Bev Christensen. If he gets sick, I'm sure she could come in and answer phones and at least do the basic documentation. So and I'm sure Dick he's got his deputy supervisor that would be in charge. Hopefully it doesn't last too long if we do get this illness, but we do have to make sure we got some ducks in order, keep the town running. So that's our plan as it stands right now. That's all I have. Why don't we go down the line this way and Bucket, what do you got?
No, I see the dog guy gave us a report, and we had questions on that,
For the budget.
and you were gonna,
For the budget we did, and we'll be talking about that now.
you'll be doing that, okay? Other than that, I think you pretty well hit everything that I had.
After the meeting tonight, I just want to remind everybody too, we will go into executive session for 15-20 minutes. For personnel
Okay.
issue.
That's all I can do. Yeah.
Kathy?
Just a quick question, I don't ever recall hearing, and I'm sure it's done, the septic system up at the Scioto rec park, remember how it was caving in? That did get fixed, right?
Yes. That was out, West Chazy.
West Chazy.
West Chazy,
West
I'm
Chazy.
sorry, yeah, West Chazy.
Yes, Dick and
That
his
did
crew
get
went in
fixed.
and put a new tank in, and, yeah, it's been fixed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
And nothing more from the school on the tennis courts up there? They had closed one of
They
them.
must be working on their budget, but yeah.
Yeah, because I know Chazy is, and I'll give him another call again, just to find out if anything's been done on it, but I haven't heard anything.
Is the Lions Club still planning to do the grandstand?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Jerry?
I was gonna ask about minor farmhouse. Now, as far as the budget goes, Leo goes over tonight the changes, and then do we have another meeting again, or no?
No,
Or
Usually
when do
what
we
do
adopt
is
this, or?
Adopt it tonight if you want.
yeah,
We'll go over the changes and
Otherwise you would have to have another meeting.
you can adopt it, or,
Because you have to have a preliminary in place, but have a public hearing on the next board meeting.
right,
right.
When do we have to have the budget done?
November 20th. So what, if you want, we can go over what we need to tonight for the changes and then have a public hearing at the next meeting.
Yeah, that's usually
Usually the way we-
You can do it whatever way you want.
Yeah,
Is that all right with everybody?
It's usually the way we do it, right?
There's only 5 or 6 items that I know that are in there that we changed.
Okay. And I only have one other thing, the sidewalk in West Chazy that got blacktopped over instead of a sidewalk being put in. Is that a temporary or is
I
that,
believe it's permanent. I guess the reason that you didn't put cement in was because, was it, I know Tom was explaining it to me today, that the porch, is there a porch on the building or something that kind of went over the cement sidewalk a little bit, and they couldn't put a form in?
That's, they asked to take the blacktop, it was blacktop.
Who asked if it would be blacktop?
You and Tom,
Okay,
I'm not in charge of sidewalk. Tom, or somebody, it's blacktop, they want to pour it.
Yeah, because I don't, I mean, sidewalks to me are supposed to be cemented, but I thought that
Well,
there was a reason why we wanted the blacktop.
I've gotten a lot of complaints on it, that it looks,
Usually if you use blacktop, it's for drainage, so you can put
it
it.
looks cheesy.
What am I trying to say, Dick?
Sometimes the blacktop's better because it's flexible and, you know, you don't get that heaving like you would with the cement.
But there was a lot, I think that was Tom's theory, there's a lot of unevenness. It would have been very expensive to go and cut that other area besides the asphalt, or besides the concrete. The asphalt behind it, there was blacktop to it. It was very heaved and so on, so.
I've just gotten several.
We got several complaints, several people that said it was great when it was being done. Matter of fact, there were 3 or 4 of them from your apartment house that thought it was great. They weren't hitting the bottom of the car anymore. And,
Right, I'm sure, and that,
you know, and
for that
Mr.
instance,
Martin went by and thought it was a great job. And
I've gotten more comments on that than I've gotten on anything since I've been on the board.
why don't you have them call stop, I guess. Huh?
That's exactly what I told them.
I mean, anything can be changed, I guess, but I don't know at this point.
How did
Oh, I
the-
know it's
You know
not.
what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
if we really
Oh,
want to
it
spend money
needed
next
to be
year.
replaced, yeah, it definitely.
How did the drainage work there?
Well, there's not really much of drainage, I mean, it almost meets right up with the road, and I think that's a lot of the problem, is that it meets the asphalt, you know, in most places. There's no green area in between the sidewalk and the road. They run right into each other.
And the sidewalk was under your porch too, Jerry. You know, under the porch was poured over the sidewalk, so it would have been very difficult to pour concrete in there. That wasn't my decision, so.
Right, I'm just passing along. So I don't know what the solution or if there is a solution or if that was a solution or.
I mean, if there's enough people that want to complain about it, have them call me, and next year I don't know if there's a way to dig it up and put cement in or not, but it's gotta be a way, I'm sure, but.
Well, I think you should
It costs
probably
us kind
feel it out. I mean, I think you're gonna find that's gonna give you a flatter and smoother surface over a period of time, because it's gonna, tarmac does have flexibility and move, whereas cement is stiff and you get the heaves and.
Cracks.
And your repair of concrete, or asphalt is much cheaper than, but I'm not, you know, I'm just saying.
Well, if we're gonna leave it like that, then perhaps we should finish the rest of the sidewalk next year to match it. Because only half of it is done like that. And it goes into a regular sidewalk halfway through.
From the school back, I mean, or?
Right, the school to the corner. And then, you know, you go around the corner and it's regular sidewalk. So it looks like it's cob jobbed
East end.
or pieced in or whatever you wanna say.
Right, we'll take a look at it.
It's certainly safer than the other one was.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing with that. The other one needed to be replaced.
Town has money to tear it up and do it over, that's up to them.
I'm just conveying what I was told.
Anything else, Jerry?
Nope.
Chris?
I have a couple things that I wanted to cover. Have we done any following up or following through with New York State Electric and Gas on the survey that's supposed to take place?
I sent to a letter, or an email to him, and the last he told me is that they're working on it, and he would get back to me. He did not forget about me, but he's got a pile on his desk, and it's the last I've heard from him. I mean, I can send him another one again, but I'm sure he's gonna come back with the same reply.
I think we should just keep following through until they come back and give us a definite.
I'll mention that the board asked again, and
Tell us yes or no, if it's something that they're gonna do or they're not gonna do. I mean, it's that simple.
okay, I'll send him another one.
I mean, if we would have hesitated to give them permission to have the right of way through the town, they wouldn't have allowed us to wait this long. Has Watertown got back to us as far as for the speed zone set for the Stratton Hill Road yet?
No.
Where that stands?
All I got was that letter a meeting or two ago saying that they have it and recognized it and would get back to us, but no response as of this time.
Okay. And the last topic that I have here is that I just wanted to say that I felt that the budget meeting on October 5th was successful. I think Staub and Leo and Sue and everybody and Dickie put together some good budgets. I know during a budget processing time, you can't please everybody, especially the way that the economic times are right now and what we're experiencing. And we as a board, what we need to keep in mind as we go forward with our budget as far as voting on it and letting the general public know is that there's a statement that I found that I thought was quite fitting for this, and this is the statement. I know that I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is trying to please everybody. So I think that sums up as far as, when we're trying to do the best that we can for the budget to help everybody. And unfortunately, you're gonna have people that aren't gonna be satisfied with everything, and I think that we put together a pretty good budget. So I just want to thank everybody for getting together some good numbers.
Dick,
There's nothing,
anything tonight?
No.
Nothing?
nothing.
Okay, yes, Mr. Steers.
So I don't know if I can intervene or, on that speed zone
Yes,
that person's requesting, the way that it's, I don't know how many people live on that road, but the process is they usually bring a petition into the town board,
Did.
and
we
then,
got a letter
okay.
from the individual.
All right,
It's
then
not a
you-
petition.
All right, you submit that to the Clinton County Highway Department, and then they submit it to the state, and the state just comes back and replies to you.
Is this, which road are you talking about now?
No, the one that,
The newest one?
the newest one you're requesting tonight,
Okay,
you have to follow that. The other one, yes, Leo, you went.
so should we get the gentleman to get a petition if he wants?
Well,
to?
you can say that in your petition, he requested a speed zone for whatever speed, and just submit that to the Clinton County Highway, and then they forward it right on to the state in Watertown. Watertown will come down, survey it, and let Mr. Lewis know if the speed zone can be put up.
Same process we
Yeah.
did.
Same process, same process.
Okay, thank you. We do have to go into executive session, but that's all we have for the regular meeting. Oh, we gotta do I'm sorry, we gotta do some changes to the budget too. We wanna do that now. Any resolutions, yes.
Thanks, John.
Hi, Don.
Good night.
Good night.
Yep. What are you covering first?
Okay, on page 2,
Budget first, yeah.
the change was made from the request for the assessor's personal services of 32,000 was changed to 30,900. Page 3, mileage for the assessor, she had requested 1,800, then dropped back down to same as last year, 1,500. Page 4, shared services, in the middle of the page, we changed those two personal services, full-time personal services, part-time. We just flip-flopped the figures. Changed the part-times to 28,286 and the full-time 8,000. On page 6, for professional services for dog control officer, and just want to explain that.
Okay, they wanted an increase from 7,450 to 8,100, so I talked to Rudy in Moore's. The reason for that, it's 600 and some dollars. He explained to me that last year, the town of Moore's had to install a heating system in the dog control officer's building, and they did pay for that. The town of Moore's did pay for the full thing. They didn't ask us for any contribution to that. And the rest of it was basically, or this $600 and some increase was, he gave them a 3% increase for pay. And there was an additional amount for the heat, because they had miscalculated the heat last month. He said if we didn't feel that we wanted to give the full amount, that his suggestion was that we deduct $150 from his half of the 3% raise that they were gonna give him. So I suggested to Leo that we subtract at least $150 off the $600 that they were requesting.
Does he
Just because
provide,
we weren't totally satisfied with.
does he provide a good service to them? Are they completely happy with the job that he's doing, or? I mean, does he have the complaints that we have? Do they have
He said that it's not an easy job.
it? No, it's not.
He says, you know, I mean, he can experience what we're having difficulty too, but he said, and he made up a good point too, that I think it was like a year or two ago, we were paying actually $9,200 for the old dog control officer, which we weren't all that satisfied with.
Mhm.
We're down to 80, or 79.50 that we're paying on this one, so. You know, he says he gets calls all the time, middle of the night, whatever, he's doing the best he can, it's a thankless job, but yeah, it's not a perfect, it's, you know, he's doing the best that he can do, I guess. So my suggestion was to, and we can talk about this, whatever, it's just my suggestion, that we just at least, since we weren't totally satisfied with his work, subtract $150 anyway. It's not a lot of money, but at least we'll show a point that,
Has he ever talked about doing a dog census?
yeah, asked him about it.
But you're still
Doesn't
looking
mention
at,
anything.
Since I've been here, I think it's been done once.
Bruce Superdog did it.
Bruce
when he first
Superdog
came
did
in.
it.
Bruce did,
He had told us when he came here that he was gonna be doing
he
one.
was gonna do it.
So you're still up, you're still at $500 though.
Around 500.
Well, he gets extra for that when he does it, since, I think, right?
So the only thing that I'm suggesting is maybe if the board, you know, is not totally satisfied with the deduct the 3% raise that we would have given them.
What kind of a heating system do they put into his building?
They have,
He has to keep it a minimum of 50 degrees. That's the
Right.
only thing he told me. What kind of heating system, I don't know what it is, but says he has to keep it at least And both, he did fill both tanks this year. The town of Morris filled both, he's got 2 tanks apparently. And he says both of them are full and ready to go, so, says you kinda gotta get something out of it.
So it's some type of fund.
So
It's-
part
I would
of this
think it's a
increase
hot-
is
An
reimbursement.
oil furnace of
Yeah.
some kind, somebody described it to me,
So part of this $500 is reimbursement to Moore's also?
yes, for heating from last year.
I'm in disagreement for 2 reasons.
Okay.
First one is that the dissatisfaction that we had with, for the dog control on the Slauson Road. And the other one was the additional fees that the town board had to pay last year with that rescue dog that was brought to Palmer's, which cost the board extra money.
But was he involved in that?
No, what happened was there was a fireman, a West
Right.
Chazy fireman that brought a
That
dog to
brought the dog
Palmer's.
there, right.
And obviously Palmer's was kind of stuck in a position, they didn't really have anything from town
Right.
saying, you know, usually what would happen, and I think we made the resolution that if somebody brings a dog in to Palmer's or whoever, they have to know that the town of Chazy is not gonna be responsible. If they wanna
Right.
pay for the dog to get better or whatever, they're gonna have to take it upon themselves to pay that fee. I mean, there's a lot of dogs out there that are running around, and if we got stuck for every one of them that went to the vet, we'd be in trouble. So we did to make a resolution to that effect, but that will be kind of, and he did work with us. Actually, Mr. Palmer was very good, and I think he cut his fee in half or something, but we still ended up paying some charges on it. Any other discussion, or? So basically what we have in the budget, just for, if anybody wants to discuss it further, we dropped it down to $79.50. From 8,100. Comments, questions, concerns, thought now?
No, as long as part of that money is to reimburse Moore's and it's not going for his.
No, the rest of it is all,
Right.
that
So he's
$150
not
we took
getting
out is
anything.
our
So he's
increase,
not getting an increase
not for
from
pay.
us
It's all
Right.
contractual
to go
increases or heating oil.
to reimburse Moore's.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Okay, you ready to move on? Code officer, requested 9,000, lowered it to 87.55.
That's the same thing.
Pardon?
Oh, we're on the same page?
Yes, same page.
Yeah, same page 6, sorry.
Okay.
Office assistant stays the same at 3,000. And the special projects is 0. No, determined we didn't have anything else
So we didn't,
You need it.
needed there.
okay.
Okay, the next page, 7. Highway superintendent, we created another line there. We got highway superintendent elected and highway superintendent working. Okay, the highway superintendent elected to be 41,000. The working one to be $2,050.
The only thing that maybe, Bill, remember, did you get my email about just breaking out how your charges would work? Did you bring anything tonight for us, or?
No, well, we can discuss it anytime you want. I mean, you know, most things, correspondence and things of that nature are fine, but things like local laws involve a lot of research. I mean, depending on what it is, but, I mean, if it's something, or the enforcement of local laws. You know, I can't agree to include all of that. I mean, the idea was that that would be extra things, I mean, attending board meetings, correspondence, you know, dealing with DEC on that enforcement matter, reviewing that type of agreement, the agreement with Dave Comfort, those things are, that's fine. But, I'm sorry, it's Dave Saskavich. But beyond that, when it gets to local laws and things like that, that can just involve a lot of research and work. And I think your memo was asking that that should be included as well. You know, I mean, you know, it may be that the town's in a position that wants to go out and, you know, request proposals from other attorneys that may be able to do it for less. I just can't. I mean, honestly, you know, I wouldn't be offended by that at all. And, you know, it may be the best way to go for the board at this point.
Okay, is there something you can put to in writing to us though?
I
Just
can,
kind of
sure.
outlining what you suggest would be included and
Right, sure.
just separating what wouldn't, so we know what to expect.
Yeah. You know, I mean, when you, for instance, this local law business too, with this burned out structure and unsafe structure, going forward and enforcing all of that, there's quite a bit to do with that. And I don't mind throwing a memo together to outline the procedures for you and whatnot. But when you start going through the public hearing process and some of the other things, another good example is the employee matter we had here. You know, those things, I think you envision stuff, all that's included. But coming up for meetings with that employee and then dealing with some of the research on what action the town can take or not take with that, that just involves a lot of time. So, you know, we had the thing with the Chazy Orchard, you know, the enforcement of that water law or local law, and going through that process and the stipulation, we have a meeting up here, all of that, I can't do it for the base fee. At some point, I think the town, you know, or the board is being somewhat pound wise maybe, or penny wise and pound foolish, but, you know, we're talking an amount that's equal to what you're paying for dog control here. So, anyway, but again, if you wanted to go out for proposals and see if, you know, some other attorneys willing to take it on, that's fine with me, I mean, really. And I can give you a list of what I would think would be included, but some of those things are just more involved in terms of research and giving the board an answer.
Well, I think that's what you were after, wasn't it? Is to distinguish which is norm and which isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but your email to me said, such as, you know, providing local laws and everything else, and that, not for that.
Okay, I mean, I'd just like to get an outline from you of, you know, this is what I'll include in this fee, and it's just so that we all know, when I get a bill from you, that I know what the, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what we know is gonna be included or not included, so we can discuss it.
You know, I've just been very fair in what I have thought should be included in it and what's not, and frankly, half the time I just say, okay, fine, we'll write that off too, but it doesn't really sit well with me because I am being very fair with what I think should be included and what shouldn't be. And it's very difficult to put it into categories, but I can tell you that local laws, for instance, and the enforcement of them couldn't be included, just can't, there's too much involved in that. But some of these other issues that you come up with, you know, it depends on what the subject matter is and how much research may be involved in it. It's hard to, you know, legal matters aren't like, you know, well, this takes exactly an hour to do this, or it takes 2 hours to do this. It varies depending on what the problem is, and it may require research, or a lot of times I've been through it before and know the answer, and that's fine. But if it requires a lot of research, I just can't commit to that.
Anything else on this?
No, I don't think that's, we've covered all the changes that we.
Okay, so do we need to make a resolution for the tentative budget, or?
I have, on your resolution pages, I have a,
Okay.
are we going to resolutions then?
Yep, we'll go to resolutions.
First one is a resolution approving preliminary budget for 210, directing public hearing thereon. In other words, town board, town of Chazy duly convened its special session October 5th, 2009, is hereby resolved as follows. Pursuant to, in accordance with the provisions of section 106 of the town law and other applicable provisions, allow the tentative detailed statement of estimated expenditures and revenues, with certain changes made, be in the same hereby is approved and adopted as the preliminary budget of the town of Chazy for the fiscal year beginning January 1, 2010. Such preliminary budget shall be filed forthwith in the office of the town clerk of the town of Chazy, where it shall be available for public inspection. Section 2, the town board of town of Chazy shall meet at the town hall at 9631 Route 9, Chazy, New York, on November 5th, 2009 at 7 p.m. and then there hold a public hearing upon such preliminary budget. Section 3, the town clerk of the town of Chazy shall give notice of such public hearing by publishing notice thereof in the Press Republic in the official newspaper of the town of Chazy at least 5 days prior to November 5th, 2010, and shall cause a copy of said notice to be posted on the signboard of the town of Chazy not later than 5 days before November 5th, 2009. 2009. Just didn't change it to the 5th. Okay, it's a resolution to take effect immediately. Any motions or second?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Counselor Devlin made the resolution, seconded by Counselor Trombley. Any discussion? Roll call. Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devlin,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Counselor, or Supervisor Spiegel?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, the next one would be notice of public hearing for the Chazy and West Chazy fire protection contracts for 2010. Whereas Chazy and West Chazy fire districts will submit their 2010 fire protection budget request. Now therefore be resolved that Chazy Town Board does hereby authorize the town clerk to advertise in the official newspaper. Notice of public hearing on the Chazy fire protection contract with Chazy and West Chazy fire districts to be held at the Chazy Town Hall Thursday, November 5th, 2009, 7:05 p.m. Motion and second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Have we haven't received their budget yet, have we?
We have received West Chazy Fire District, but we haven't received Chazy's yet. Last year or 2 years ago, the state changed that they do not have to submit theirs, they have to have their own public hearings now.
Okay, but,
And submit it to me by the 20th of November, so it's this,
what
like
was
this.
what Chazy's? Do we have that at the budget meeting? Because I don't remember.
Pardon?
Do we have
Yeah,
what
we have.
Chazy's?
We have West Chazy's, is
Yeah.
It's in there.
in the budget. Chazy's, all I have in
And
there
what
is
was,
last
what was the
year's.
percentage of increase?
Pardon?
There was none.
There was no increase?
No.
I don't believe there was one for West Chazy, was there?
There was a West Chazy, there was a little increase
Just
for,
Small amount.
protection, fire protection.
Fire.
Mm,
I think it was, it wasn't very much for us.
Okay, page 17. They went from 74,260 to 74,856.
Okay.
And like I say, Chazy's, I just have what it was last year. I haven't received theirs yet. They haven't had their public hearing. But Chazy was Janice, Janet Kelly, I think it is, treasurer there. She was kind enough to fax me a copy of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Counselor Dino, seconded by Counselor Lattimore. Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devils, Counselor Trombley,
Yes.
Supervisor Speaker.
Yes.
Next one is public hearing for the Hamlet Chazy Sewer District 2010 budget. Board, Town of Chazy duly convened special section October 5th, 2009, does hereby resolve pursuant to and accordance with provisions of sections. And it's kind of like it was in the general, they just changed that preliminary budget for Hamlet Chazy Sewer District fiscal year beginning January 1, 2010. Such preliminary budget shall be filed forthwith in the office of town clerk, where it will be available for public inspection. And town board shall meet on November 5th, 7:10 p.m., and there hold a public hearing upon such preliminary budget. Town clerk will put notice in the press as well as a signboard.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Who seconded? Jerry?
I did. First.
Counselor Trombley made the motion, seconded by Counselor Lattimore. Any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devlin,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Okay, next one is notice of public hearing for the Hamlet Chazy Water District 2010. It's just a repeat of the previous resolution for the sewer district.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Counselor Dino made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devlin. Is any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore,
Yes.
Counselor Dino,
Yes.
Counselor Devlin,
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Now, the next two I put in there because they were from last year. Do we need these again this year?
Employees assistance.
The Employee Assistance Service Agreement, 10/1/2009 through 9/30/2010.
What are these?
What is that for? That deals with the
Highway department.
drug.
Oh, okay.
Drug, I'll make the motion.
Drug testing.
I'll make the
There's a
motion.
cost of this in here. Is there a cost chart? You should
Is
have
it
an
like
amount.
$40 a person?
Yeah.
It's not an
There is.
annual fee, it's per
So we
testing.
could,
Yeah, but you should.
Yeah, I
What's
think
your
there is an
approval?
annual fee of $40 per person, but I
Right.
think everybody's,
right,
I don't remember.
Yeah.
$320?
Or is it on a need
something like
basis?
that, let me go look at last year's.
Can we set up something where you can?
I don't know, we
set
never had a
yourself-
fee in this
Oh, sure.
before,
I can
we've done
send
this for
anybody
several
a
years,
spec.
and never without a fee here, so I don't know.
That's on there.
We can put it in.
Well, it'd be good because you're authorizing the agreement, authorizing it to be entered into, so it wouldn't be, for instance, just a blank check to unlimited.
I'm sure it's $40 a
I
person.
think it's $320. for the total. I'm not-
Right. To be 8 people.
But then there's a charge, like, when you send it to testing again.
Oh, yes. Not from them, from the.
So it's gonna get the
drug
figure.
testing.
We'll
They
add
just
it
do
to
the
the
random
resolution.
call.
Even if you had
I'll make
enough
the
to
motion.
X amount, I mean, you're authorizing.
I'll second it.
Counselor Trombley made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devlin. Is any further discussion?
So what are you gonna do? You're just gonna fill in the amounts when you find out?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't quite understand what the need of the service is. I mean,
Drug testing for.
Drug
but Dickie
testing.
can send somebody anytime under,
It's a
But they do other
It's a
services.
mandatory testing of the highwayman for the drug.
Right.
oh,
No,
it is mandatory, this is mandatory.
Oh, yes.
They do it
DOT, yeah. But they also do,
Random
No.
test.
service, no, they also do services for, if the person felt that they had a problem
If
within the
it's
workforce.
positive or whatever.
No, I mean, you know, other things, personal
That
stuff.
counseling.
It was-
Right.
That counseling,
Yeah.
and- right, there's a lot of other things that go along with that, but they do the random drawings for whoever participates in there, and then that is sent to whoever does our drug testing, and they call us and they let me know who the person's gonna be, and I can't let that person know until 2 hours before they get their testing.
Okay, so it's a mandated service.
Yeah,
Okay.
Roll call, Counselor Lattimore.
Yes?
Counselor Dino.
Yes.
Counselor Devlin.
Yes.
Counselor Conley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Next one's annual maintenance permits for utility installations within county right of way.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Counselor Lattimore made the motion, seconded by Counselor Devlin. Any discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore.
Yes?
Counselor Dino.
Yes.
Counselor Devlin.
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
Okay, next one would be budget transfers.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion been made by Counselor Devlin, seconded by Counselor Lattimore. Any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore.
Yes?
Counselor Dino.
Yes.
Counselor Devlin.
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes.
And next one, payment of claims.
I'll motion.
I'll second it.
Counselor Dino made the motion, seconded by Counselor Trombley. Any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore.
Yes.
Counselor Dino.
Yes.
Counselor Devlin.
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes, we need to make one more resolution. Authorization for the town to put out for a bid for an engineering company to oversee our application for the salt storage building at the highway department.
Do we know at what cost?
We don't know that. So we're gonna go for a bid.
No, I mean to hire them.
Oh, yeah, that's what we're trying to find out.
You're gonna have, he's
We're
gonna
gonna
advertise it.
advertise to say, we're looking for an engineer.
And ask for a
What
bid.
kind of cost are you going to?
Gotcha. I'll
I
make the
mean, we
motion.
don't, yeah, I have no idea what it costs.
I'll second it.
So right now, we're just looking for somebody that's gonna provide,
Provide
put a bid in for the service?
Yes.
And how much
So
you're
we
gonna
can't move
charge.
forward without them.
Right.
I'll make the
Right.
motion.
So then what we'll do is we'll take a look and see who comes in as the lowest bidder, and then have the resolution.
It's actually, because it's professional services, you can just make a request for proposals, rather than a formal bid process. And any professional wanting to submit a proposal to do the work for whatever, is what they would submit, and you do not need to go with the lowest bidder, because it's for professional services, or the lowest proposal.
So we want to do that, authorize the route for proposal for engineering services for salt building.
Salt storage building at highway department.
Is it the engineering on the building itself, or on the grant application that you're looking for now?
It's
it
good.
would be both, it would be the building plus to enforce the grant.
Okay, Counselor Devon's made the motion, second by Counselor Trombley. Any further discussion? Roll call, Counselor Lattimore.
Yes?
Counselor Dino.
Yes.
Counselor Devon.
Yes.
Counselor Trombley.
Yes.
Supervisor Spiegel.
Yes. Okay, we'll need a motion to go into executive session.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second that.
Counselor Trombley made a motion to go into executive session, second by Counselor Devons. And to discuss personnel matters.
No.
Right.
Good night, Dave.
Counselor Trombley. Supervisor
snide, still